Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be doing some more requested reaction videos, and this video is requested by Icon Super Rambler, and it's going to be Game Compilations Compilation by Scott the Was. Wow, that rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? That's not complicated at all. Let's check out his compilations of compilation. I'm guessing it's going to be games compiled in a collection, and then he's just going to be showing a lot of those games compiled, like the Sega Genesis collection or something like that. Yeah, let's check out the video, shall we? Let's go.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Whoa! It's almost that time again. Summer's almost here, and you know what that means. Yeah, I have chocolate and marshmallows. I don't have graham crackers, though. I'll have to do with the
Well,
saltine crackers
s'mores.
I have in the cupboard. But it's amazing when you think about s'mores.
Just-
It's three different things combined into one big thing.
Yeah, what was it? So marshmallow, chocolate, biscuit, whatever it is. I never had a small.
Game compilation.
Or
Such
schmo,
a
whatever
comforting
the heck
region
you
of
call it.
titles on a console. You're probably bound not to give two flicks about 70% of the games included, but my god, you get multiple games for one low price. Even as somebody who loves collecting the original releases of games, there's something about compilation discs that are just so compelling. Owning a multitude of classics on one single disc on
Yeah,
more
that's what I
modern
thought he
hardware.
was gonna.
So why not casually take a look at just a few I own? I think they're just interesting to look at, to see how the games included are
Sonic
presented.
Ultimate Genesis
And by the
Collection,
way,
yeah.
let me just jam in your skull, this isn't a comprehensive list of all game compilations or anything. Like I said, I just want to talk about a handful of the ones I own. But hey, I have many more game compilations than just these, so
Oh,
who
boy.
knows, maybe we can revisit this topic in the future. But for now, Sonic Mega Collection. This
Collection.
was my childhood right here. I received my cousin's hand-me-down Sega Genesis with Sonic 1 and later got Sonic 2. One day while perusing Toys R Us, I decided to pick up this game on GameCube. This was many kids' first experience with Sonic, and what an introduction. This collection mainly focuses on the Genesis titles in the series. 1, 2, 3, Knuckles, 3D Blast, Spinball, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. It's all
There's a lot
here,
of Sonic
with some
games.
bonus unlockables thrown in there as
Gotta
well,
remember
like Sonic
this.
3 and Knuckles, Knuckles and Sonic 2, etc. Emulation seems to be pretty spot on here. If you play these versions, you're playing these games pretty much the way they always were. They run absolutely fine and give you the full experience in my opinion. But what this compilation does so right is the presentation and the extras. The menus and music that accompany them are amazing. They have this sense of nostalgia and just pure emotion to them. The loading screens are these stars like you're blasting to the past. It's great. Extras wise, we get
Whooping
all
back
the game's
to the
original
past.
manuals, a bunch of Sonic comics, concept art, promotional art, and a few videos.
Yeah, it's good
Sonic
knickknacks.
CD's
Good to
intro
have
and outro are included,
all that
even though Sonic
artwork
CD
stuff
isn't playable on this collection. It was
on the
originally
disc.
going to be, but was scrapped. This History of Sonic video was a fun retrospective on the character's journey from point A to B to Jesus Christ to this point in time, which was Mega Collection's release in 2002. This was such a well-made and just good collection, and still is in my opinion. The game was only available on the GameCube until a few years later when an expanded version was released on PlayStation 2 and Xbox, with a Windows port coming later. Sonic Mega Collection Plus. It's just Mega Collection on the other consoles, but they changed up a few things. The menus
Okay.
are completely different. They have more of an archival feel to them, like they're flashing elements of Sonic's past and development in the background. The same games are all here, but with a few bonus ones, namely Sonic titles on the Game Gear, also Comic Zone and the Ooze are unlockables for no discernible reason. The extras are here as well, but all the original videos were scrapped in favor of sneak peeks at Sonic Heroes. We see stuff like the opening movie in production, where some scenes have barely even been completed. That's cool, but for a collection like this, I prefer the videos from the GameCube version. They have this sense of history. These just feel like bonuses. You
Yeah,
can't really go
yes.
wrong with either version of Mega Collection, but I'll always have a soft spot for the GameCube one. I grew up with this little guy.
Okay, yeah.
Super Mario All-Stars
Super
was a
Mario
compilation of four
All-Stars,
16-bit
yes.
remakes of all the
I was
8-bit
actually
Mario
playing this
games,
earlier
Mario
with my
1,
brother.
2, 3, and the Lost Levels, the first time the original version of Mario 2 was playable outside of Japan. These are excellent versions of the games, but the changes in All-Stars can be a bit jarring. Mario 1's physics are very different from the original, so it takes some getting used to. At least for me personally. But hey, you can save in all the games now and they all look and sound great. Now this was released on the Super Nintendo. A version of Super Mario All-Stars was released on the Wii, so let's take a look at that one. Yeah, this is lame. For Super Mario Bros. 25th anniversary, Nintendo released Super Mario All-Stars on a Wii disc. Literally, Nothing was changed. They didn't even bother to change the Super Nintendo controller graphic in the game to a Wii remote. Plus, Super Mario All-Stars was re-released later in the Super Nintendo's life with Super Mario World included. Why didn't they use this version? That would have been nice. What the Super Nintendo version doesn't have, though, is the commemorative packaging the Wii version comes with. For $30, you got Super Mario All-Stars on a Wii disc, an art book, and a soundtrack CD. The goodies are included in a separate DVD case, and they're both nice inclusions, but don't go all the way. The art book scratches the surface of what I want to see. It shows off all this cool concept art and these history tidbits, but they don't show enough of it. This is just the size of a standard video game manual. It's just not enough to satisfy me. The soundtrack
it
is
looks
even
pretty
worse.
good,
It
actually,
only
though.
includes one track from each main Mario game, and then the last half of the CD is just 1-second sound effects. It has elements of cool in it, but Mario All-Stars on Wii is just a disappointment. Even worse is that this was a high-ticket item a few years ago, going for around $70 or so. Recently,
Hopefully
Nintendo
this is gonna
re-released
be
it
on
under the
Nintendo
Nintendo
Switch.
Selects line, and I found this tattered up copy for $12. The outer
Damn,
box is in pretty
$12.
lame shape, but the contents inside look pretty sharp. But leave it to Nintendo to oust themselves. 2 years after the pitiful showing for
Kirby.
Mario's 25th
Fucking
anniversary,
Kirby.
Nintendo celebrated Kirby's 20th with Kirby's Dream Collection on the Wii, the last Nintendo published game on the system. This
I don't think
is
I've
how you
ever
do
played a
collection.
Kirby
We
game
have
before.
6 Kirby games: Kirby's Dream Land, Adventure, Dream Land 2, Superstar, Dream Land 3, and 64.
Maybe
Each
like a
game has
Smash
been
Brothers
programmed to
game,
work with
but
just the Wii remote on its
like
side,
the
which is
character
nice.
Kirby or
But this
something like that.
collection does what all good collections do, which is just shower us in extras. We get new challenge stages, which are continuations of what we saw in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, which is really cool. And we have a history section. Displayed is a really nice timeline, not only showing the history of Kirby, but showcasing other random world events.
Yeah, I've
It's
seen
now
Kirby
official that
pop up
Barack Obama
everywhere.
is a part of the Kirby canon. You can also select Kirby games and ogle the box arts in 3D, see videos of all Kirby
Nice.
games, even the ones not playable in this collection. There's also a few episodes of the Kirby Right Back At Ya TV show. Outside the game, we get a history booklet and a soundtrack CD, and this right here is how you not only celebrate an anniversary, but also make a great collection. Now,
Yeah.
if you're in the market to play some stellar Atari games,
Oh,
what's wrong with you?
Jesus.
I mean, Atari games still have their
Pog.
charm, and in my opinion, the main way to play them these days
Oh,
is by
boy.
using compilations like what we're about to look at. Yeah, many purists will say the only way to truly appreciate Atari is to hook up an Atari 2600 to an old TV and play a game with the static, the noise, the bad picture. It's part
True,
of the
but it's-
experience. Playing them in crystal clear definition kind of devalues the experience.
True.
It showcases just how totally bogus the
But-
game can be. Like,
Both can be a fun experience.
what is this? But come on, it's getting increasingly harder to nab a working 2600 and a
Yeah,
working old school
ti-
TV.
things are getting
Most people have to
older and
experience
older
this
and
age of
harder and
gaming
harder
through
to
collections
obtain.
like the Atari Anthology. I really quite like this collection.
Hmm.
It does have a few control issues. For one, the menus can only be traversed with the D-pad, and games that use
Oh,
the
don't
paddle
like this
controls for
layout.
precise movement are a bit jumpy using the Xbox controller. But other than that, this is an excellent Atari crash course. You get a little bit of everything. You get the classics and you get the Atari flavored menopause, but that's a part of the Atari experience. You have to include some lame things in there. But the fact that we have Breakout, Centipede, Pong, Adventure, I mean the mainstay Atari made games are all here and accounted for. We also have a wide array of bonuses, specifically some
Asteroids.
really interesting scans and photos of behind the
Atari
scenes and
asteroids.
historic material like
Fucking
promotional
hell, I
products,
remember
arcade
that.
flyers, all that stuff. Included as well are these interviews with Atari founder Nolan Bushnell. It's definitely a must-have if you're interested in Atari, but this is only one half of the story. Activision was a major player on the Atari 2600. They were the first third-party publisher, being formed by ex-Atari employees who wanted more credit for the games they made. A key example would be Pitfall. It's often labeled as David Crane's Pitfall. Activision made some of the most iconic and popular games on the 2600, so it's only fitting that they themselves came out with a collection of their classics, the Activision Anthology. The presentation is a lot cooler here, bringing us back to the horrors of the early 80s. Included are some all-time greats like Pitfall and Kaboom, but in my opinion, the
Kaboom.
list of games here
Yeah, I've seen
isn't
James
as
and Mike
compelling as
Mondays
Atari's
play this
offerings.
game.
The menu system
Kaboom.
also isn't as intuitive. It's really style over substance. Part of me likes the aesthetic of a room from the 80s, and the other part of me wishes it was just a simple menu like the Atari one. We have 80s tunes blasting in the background while we can look through the tape deck of games and examine stuff like the boxes, cartridge, and manual.
It's pretty
But
cool.
this is the extent of the extras. We don't get the sheer abundance of bonus material the Atari Anthology got. Overall, both collections are pretty good. I personally prefer the Atari Anthology though. The most prevalent game compilation series out there. 40 years after Oxygen stopped circulating, there will still be a new Namco museum coming out. Namco created some of my personal favorite arcade games, so it's always nice to have a good chunk of them in one package. Here's a pretty vanilla release Namco museum on the Xbox. Now this is my collection of games. We pretty much have my mainstay Namco games here. The tried and true Pac-Man, Ms.
I
Pac-Man, Galaga,
recognize
Dig
most
Dug,
of these
Pole Position
games.
1 and 2, and who the hell likes Galaxian? Also included are arrangement versions of Pac-Man, Galaga, and Dig Dug, which are updated remixed versions of the games. I personally have a ton of nostalgia for Pac-Man
Oh,
arrangement. I
Jesus.
played loads of this on the Pac-Man collection on Game Boy Advance. It's basically Pac-Man with new gimmicks and weirder controls. It's much faster and smoother, a bit jarring, but a really good version of Pac-Man. You can unlock Pac Attack and
I've
Pac-Mania
played
after
this
obtaining
a
high scores in the
shitload of
games.
this game.
And that's it for this release, nothing else, just the bare minimum. You get a handful of Namco games, have at it. A bit disappointing. For a game called Namco Museum, I kind of wanted a bit more history, a bit more bonus material.
Yeah, it's
Actually,
nice to
any
have all the bonus
material.
stuff,
Other
you know.
older Namco museums had this, so why not this one? Well,
Yeah.
only a few years later, Namco struck back with Namco Museum 50th Anniversary. It's
Damn,
basically a much
50 years.
better version of the last one we looked at. The presentation has just been completely buttered up. Everything looks way cooler, but still no bonus material. At least we have Mappy and Rally X included now, thank God. The only thing we can do outside of play the games is check the controls. For example, let's check Pac-Man's controls.
Okay.
Huh. Moving on to the most
Very
recent
limited.
release, Namco Museum on Nintendo Switch, and holy shit, Pac-Man's an actual circle. Yeah, this is probably the best these games have ever looked, and the closest we've gotten to them being perfect transitions from arcade to console. We have so many options here, just loads of customization. I think the game selection's a little weird. We have 3 mainstays, Pac-Man, Galaga, and Dig Dug, and the rest are a bit on the more obscure side of Namco's history. Still fine games, but we don't have Mappy or Rally X or specifically Miss
Rally
Pac-Man.
X.
I think there's some legal mojo
Rally
going
X,
on
that's a
with
great
that,
game.
since
That's when you
recently
shoot the
Namco's been
oil
playing
on the
it safe
ground
and
to
hasn't
trip out
re-released
the other
game all
player.
too much. Basically, if
a
you
great
didn't know,
game.
Miss Pac-Man was originally developed as a ROM hack, fundamentally originally named Crazy Auto, made by 2 college kids. Instead of suing them, Midway, the original distributor of Pac-Man, made a deal with them and they released the game as Miss Pac-Man. I guess they just don't want to touch the game nowadays just to be safe, which is unfortunate. Now, if we want to completely avoid the Sonic part of Sega, we can go for some pure Sega compilations, like Sonic's Ultimate, damn it. Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection for Xbox 360 and PS3 is phenomenal. Almost 50 games, including some
Wow.
of the Master System and arcade games. This is a great way to experience a lot of what made the Genesis library so distinct. So much variety and so many solid games. I mean, we have freaky Rise Star, Vector Man, Comic Zone, oh, and more of this. Extras galore, and the games look pretty good. However, they don't seem as sharp as I'd like them to be. There's something about them that looks a little too soft, I don't know. You also can't turn off the border on the games, which
What's
is
that
annoying.
Eco
They don't
Dolphin
give you the
game,
choice to
we
just have
watched?
black bars. I never
Johnny
found the
played
borders
that
to
game.
be that distracting or anything, but would have liked the option. Like, imagine if there was a small blue
Street
border on
Fighter.
everything you played. Things would definitely
Streets
get
of Rage, not
riot-inducing.
Street
Now, Sega often pushes the Genesis in terms of their game compilations. What about their other systems, like the Dreamcast? Well, wonder no more, because here's the Dreamcast collection for Xbox 360. and
Crazy
it deserves a solid
Taxi.
ugh. This
Sega
is just a
Bass
hastily
Fisher.
slapped together
Fucking hell, I
collection
never
for
understood
Dreamcast
that game, why
games.
everyone
Basically,
loved
they took the
fishing.
HD ports of these games that were available on Xbox Live Arcade
I've played
and
this.
put them all on
One
a
of my
disc.
friends made me
That's
play
it.
it. I was
Just
like,
look
what
at
the
this
fuck
menu.
am I
It just
playing?
reeks of we didn't care. I mean, we have some really good games on this disc, but it lacks the love
I
and
played
attention
this
that other
game, but
Sega
I just
collections
never
receive.
could get into
Like
this
the
fishing
Sega
game.
Classics collection. A bit of an
I'm
odd one
not
to
a
single out because I'm a bit mixed
don't
on
like
this one,
fishing.
but you can't say they didn't put
Not
effort
a
into this.
guy that likes
This is a
fishing.
collection of classic Sega games remade in 3D. They're by and large the same games they always
Played
were,
this game.
just
Yeah.
presented in a modern way.
Remind me
or
of Barbie and
modern
Ken.
for PS2 standards. You see, I'm mixed because I personally think this makes games like Golden Axe
Golden
way
Axe
lamer.
is amazing.
Golden Axe already hasn't aged the best.
The original
Put it in
Golden
3D
Axe.
and it just kind of highlights how poorly its mechanics have held up. You get a better experience playing the original. It just feels better that way.
Yeah.
There are other
The
games like
original's great.
Columns, which is fine in this collection. They updated its visuals, I think, but it's still Columns and it holds up fine. VR, what is it? Oh, Jesus, Sega. Just call it Virtua Racing. Go lay
Virtua
down.
Racing.
The Sega Classics collection is a really interesting release, but personally I'd rather play the originals in most cases. SNK, the Nintendo Switch's #1 supporter.
Neo
They're no doubt
Geo.
best known for their Neo Geo hardware. Keyword being no. Not a ton of people got to experience the Neo Geo, so thankfully we have a few compilations. SNK Arcade Classics, Volume 1. Of 1. Yeah, the series never went past Volume 1. Unfortunate, because
that's a
this is
shame.
still a good collection of games with loads of variety. Everything from Metal Slug to King of the
Metal
Monsters
Slug,
to Shock Troopers
amazing.
to the best game of the bunch, Neo Turf Masters.
Neo
No
Turf
joke, I
Masters.
love Neo Turf
Oh, I've
Masters.
played this
We have
before.
loads of fighting games here as
Yes.
well. Easily the genre Neo Geo was known for the most. If you're more of a Metal
That
Slug
golf
guy, the
game,
Metal
I
Slug
remember.
Anthology was released around the same time, which exclusively focuses on SNK's Metal Slug series. It's basically SNK's version of Contra, and dare I say, a better version of Contra. Lots of quality games here, and extras like this interview with the dev team. That's really anticlimactic. Now, apparently there are some
pretty
emulation
decent.
problems. Now, I wouldn't know because I've never touched or have even seen a Neo Geo system, arcade, home console, none
Nor
of
have
it.
I.
The games at least
I
play
never
and look fine, and
sort of
that's
touched
all I
one
can say on
before.
the matter. Mega Man, Mega Man, Mega Man. If you take one solid look at the prices of his games,
Yeah,
I'll take
Jesus.
3, please. The Mega Man Anniversary Collection originally released on PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox a bit later. It includes the first 8 Mega Man games and a
Mega
few
Man
unlockable
games.
arcade games. First off, this ain't the most pure way to play these games. A good chunk of edits to the graphics and sound occurred, as well as a few hiccups here and there. Like the title screens look a bit different.
Bit like
There's
the
no
Silent
difficulty
Hill
select on Mega
collection.
Man 2's
It
title
was like
screen.
a
You have to go
Silent
to the
Hill
collection's options for
bundle.
that. It's alright. Playing them
Wait.
on this collection felt a bit off to
It
me,
had
though. I
multiple
can't really
Silent Hill
pinpoint
games in
why.
one.
It's still a pretty good
I
value.
think it's like Silent Hill
But in my
HD
opinion, I'll
collection
take
or
the
something
Mega
like
Man
that.
Legacy collections nowadays. Yes, the entire series
The
was split
audio
into
was
2
out of
parts,
whack.
but
Subtitles
I'll take it.
were
All games are presented
buggy.
in
The game
HD,
experience
include
was
music
even more
players, art,
broken.
challenges, the works. Plus, there's a far less amount of differences between the original games and the versions shown in these collections. Legacy Collection 1 focuses on 1 through 6, the series' entire run on the NES. You can pick between the Japanese and North American versions and pop on some filters like this CRT one. Does
Such a
anybody actually
pretty
like
decent.
using these filters? I've noticed a lot of retro collections include
Well,
this as an option these days,
it's
but
a
personally I'd rather just
preference-
have the game the way it is
preference,
and its
you
original
know.
aspect ratio.
Everyone's
There's also
different.
these
Everyone likes
borders,
to
which
play
I
their
always
game
turn
different.
off. I think they're a bit distracting, and I personally don't need the entire screen filled. Legacy Collection 2 includes 7 through 10, which makes it definitely the more interesting collection. Opinions on these games are a bit more divisive than 1 through 6.
Many Mega Man games are there?
Bad / the
Fucking hell.
best one in the series. 8's weird and sloppy / a hidden gem. Even though you may not like every game included, you do get a cooler variety here. It's 3 different styles of Mega Man. My main problem with these collections is that they don't go the extra mile and include extra games I think would really be at home here. Mega Man and Bass, the Sega Saturn version of Mega Man 8, the Game Boy games, the Game Gear game, Mega Man the Wily Wars. Come on, those would have been
Mega
great
Man out
games,
of
or even just
space.
unlockables.
Fucking hell.
It's whatever. These are still really great values.
So those are just a few compilations. Definitely some of the cooler
Is that
titles you can
schmore?
add for your collection.
Is that what it is? A marshmallow with 2 biscuits? I don't know.
I left the s'mores maker on.
Schmores maker. Your house is burning down, yeah. That's what
I
happens.
deliberately left this one out to avoid this from happening.
Pros classic. Yeah. I don't think I've ever had a schmore before. I don't know what really a schmore is. If it's like a marshmallow with 2 biscuits or something like that. I don't know. Something you put on a campfire or something like that. Yeah. That was game compilations of compilation by Scott the Was. I keep trying to pronounce that correctly, but I think I'm screwing it up. Some of those games were pretty good. I like Anniversary Edition games, you know, when they compile a lot of old games into one sort of game. It's totally awesome, and you get like special features such as you can customize the game, the background, the audio, you know, just stuff all like that. That's quite nice, and have all that extra bonus content is also awesome. I remember what was the Silent Hill HD collection I was talking about. That game was broken. It's still good, don't get me wrong. The Silent Hill, it was like a Silent Hill HD collection, a bunch of Silent Hill games, and they were good. They were pretty decent. Unfortunately, some of it was really buggy and glitchy, and the subtitles were out of whack, and I don't know, maybe it was just me, but when I was playing, the game was just like glitching all over the place. Maybe I was doing something wrong, maybe it was a scratched disc, who knows. It was a very strange phenomenon, so to speak, but either the case, I did enjoy this video. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure to give a like, comment down below, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.